What is good, you guys? This is Steven with All Talk On, and today I got something in the mail. It's some thermal paste. It's the TX-4, Tuniq TX-4. I went with this because it had some really good thermal ratings on it, but honestly, most of them, at least the high quality ones, are all within the margin of error within each other. I kind of ripped the box a little bit, but as you guys can see, it comes in the little package and then comes with a little applying card. Now, like I said, they're all within about 1 to 3 degrees within each other, so it's all really going to come down to personal preference more than anything, honestly. The Arctic Silver 5 I have been seeing getting beat out by a lot of different things. So I would suggest maybe getting something a little bit better than that one. But a lot of people do recommend it though, even though I've been seeing the temperatures on almost, I don't know, every video and review and test I've seen. They've all been, you know what I mean. Arctic 5 is definitely one of the ones getting beat. Hold on, let me grab a screwdriver because I forgot to grab a screwdriver because I'm smart. So basically right now, I'm using the thermal paste that came with this cooler master. As you guys can see, one of my little favorite things right here is this. If you guys can see that, hopefully. Basically, I'll teach you guys how to do that real quick too, to keep your cords from going everywhere. It looks really nice. So right now I'm using the cooler master thermal paste, and I mean, I'm not getting bad temperatures, but at the same time, if I can get better, why not? It's only $10 for this, so I might as well invest in it and, you know, try it out, see what I get. I did say it when I overclocked, I was getting high temperatures in Prime 95. Of course, everyone's going to have their, I guess, preference on what high temperatures are. I was getting about 63 degrees, 65, and that's high for me. I don't like anything higher than 60 degrees. So that's why I don't do Prime 95. I forgot to mention that in that video when I said I was getting high temps. I meant I was getting about 60 degrees, which is high for an AMD processor, which is why I don't like it. But, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that'll be pushing it close to 70, no problem, for several hours. I'm just not going to be one of those people. So anyways, let's get started. First thing, obviously, is we're going to unplug the fan control here. And we're going to pop these off. I'll get into that once I start applying it. So basically, yeah, first thing we're going to go into is some removal and pop this little bad boy off of here. By the way, I have the Cooler Master seat on 120 with Corsair SP and push-pull configuration on the radiator. I have two Corsair 120s, the SP performance versions. And it was funny because I bought the performance versions and they still came with a little plug to undervolt them to get them to run at a lower RPM, which I didn't think they were supposed to. So whenever you pull one of these off, you want to make sure all your screws are loose and off, and you're going to want to grab it and kind of twist it first, then kind of lift it off. And as you can see, my thermal paste, it looks like it was applied on there pretty decently, if you guys can see that, hopefully. Doesn't look like it had any, I mean, there's patches right here, but the patches are actually still on there, so I had a nice solid coat. That's my little thermometer, by the way, right here for my temperature for my fan controller. So, you know, like any other processor, crap, I'm gonna have to pop that out, and it should just come right out, if I remember doing this correctly. I don't know, it's been a little while since I pulled this bad boy out. Oh, okay, I lifted up a little more. So that was me. Like, one thing, it was hard to tell, actually I'm going to keep that here for now, was I didn't pull on it very hard. You know, you can tell when something's stuck. So we're going to clean off the radiator heatsink first, and I'm trying to set it down lightly. A lot of people say use some hardcore isopropyl. I have 91% rubbing alcohol. I've been using this. I haven't had an issue with it. I think people always suggest 99, but I mean, you know, do it at your own risk, of course. You can use 99 if you don't feel comfortable. I've been using 91 before I even knew I had to use 99. And then, of course, the microfiber cloth with hair on it. Yeah, it's not supposed to have hair on it. Well, it's a microfiber cloth, and then you just basically do what you got to do with it. You wipe this good stuff off of here, get all that cleanliness going on here. So, I would suggest getting off, you know what I mean, like practically all of it. You want it like pretty damn spotless. You want to make sure you're not running into having any leftover paste on there when you go to put your new paste on. Definitely not a good idea. All I can smell is rubbing alcohol right now, but oh well. Yeah, my hands, by the way, are covered in paint. I just got off work, so I'm a painter, so obviously that's why I'm covered in paint. But I got off work, found this in the mailbox, thought I'd do it real quick. Okay, so that's pretty much cleaned off. They always say use a microfiber, but honestly, I use Q-tips every now and then, which I'll probably end up going grabbing because of the chip. But what you can also do is just get it really dry and then just blow it off before you put any paste on it. So I'm gonna leave that on the side out of the way. Make sure this is pulled all the way up. So this is my 8320. Ooh, it's gooey. Yeah, there's a little bit of over application there that squeezed off to the sides, which it's not a big deal. You ain't gotta worry about it. So now we're gonna get that off. I don't like to clean it while it's in there because honestly I don't want any of this stuff on my motherboard. You can go ahead and do it. I've seen people do it lots of times before. It's just personal preference, I guess. So I get it on the sides because I squeeze some of it out. So with these processors, not like the Intels, the pins are on this and not on the motherboard. They're actually on the or on the chip. So you want to be very careful when you're holding these not to bend any of these little pins. Also, when you put it back on, like I have paint all over my hands, I probably should have washed them a little better before we did this, but you don't want to have anything in those pins when you go to stick it back in. So, like I said, I always give something a light, like blow off, light little, blow job before I stick them back in there. So, that's just, like I said, something I like to do. You don't necessarily have to, I don't know, precautions, you know what I mean? That's just how I roll. Be safe. Better safe than sorry. So what we're looking at now is just getting off all this thermal paste off of the processor, which I'm very anal about having any leftover on here, so this might take me a minute. So I might end up fast forwarding this a little bit for you guys, just because I'm going to sit here and do this for a few minutes. Don't want to make you guys wait because I'm kind of off camera. Alright you guys, now we're back. So as you can see, I'm holding it on the sides. I don't want to get any of my fingerprints on it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it and I'm going to blow on it just to kind of get rid of any dust that might have accumulated on it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stick it back in. Now remember with these, line up the arrow with the line up arrow on your motherboard. So if you guys accidentally get some rubbing alcohol on your stuff, don't worry about it. Just let it dry up, give it a few minutes to dry before you try to turn it on or anything, and you should be good from there. So, I don't know if I should stick this back on now or stick it, yeah, I'm going to stick it on once I have the stuff applied, if I can find out where I put it. Okay, here it is. So, on the instructions, this thing gives you a card, and it tells you to spread it. So I'm going to clean the card off, obviously, make sure there's no dust or anything on it before I use it, but it tells you to spread it right here and spread it out in a flat manner. Now I usually go with the dot in the middle, and the best way to size the dot is about the size of your capacitors laying around on your motherboard that can be found anywhere. That's about the size that I usually go with. Obviously, depending on how big the chip is, you want to factor that in too, but for the most part, that dot size, the size of your capacitors will definitely be a sufficient amount. But because this thing is telling me to spread a thin layer, that's what I'm going to do, because I'm going to listen to how it tells me to do things, because it's their product. Now we lock that back in place, make sure it's nice and snug. So I think it was on one of their YouTube videos it shows this being applied, so we're going to see if we can poke a little. Oh, whoa, comes out really fast there. Okay, so I was told this stuff is really thick, which is one of the reasons why I'm actually going to take their advice on how to spread it, is because it does, I just felt it does feel pretty thick. Now when I saw them do it, they started on one side and made their way across. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I don't really know which way would be the easiest. Maybe if I pop my RAM out, I can come this way a little bit easier. Yeah, you guys, Ripjaw X G-Skill. Gotta have that RAM. And I just set that down in a bad spot. Hold on. So yeah, basically I'm gonna do it how they're telling me to do it, for the fact that I want to make sure that, you know what I mean, they made the damn stuff. They should know how to use it best. So give it one more nice little blow on top. And now we're just going to basically apply this how I saw the guy do it on YouTube for their thing. So basically he just took it and just made a nice little stripe along, which seems like a lot of paste, but you know what? Like I said, I'm doing it how they showed me on the video. So honestly, I don't think it's really going to make too big of a difference. This way of applying thermal paste isn't really used anymore. Usually people just go with the dot method. But because, like I said, this is how they include the card, and this is how they tell you to do it, I'm going to go ahead and do it like this. So you're very gently just going to want to spread it. A thin layer across the top. I've also noticed this card, I might need to put a little more on there. I probably didn't put enough. I was trying not to be too generous. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure I get all the edges, even though it'll probably spread out a little better once I put the heatsink on. But I just want to make sure I get the entire thing covered, because I don't really want to have to reapply this because I did something wrong. So if you look at the on the back of the box, it actually shows what a good heatsink. So I'm going to push down on this so it doesn't push a lot out, just puts like a really thin layer out. That's one way so I don't get like a full bubble there. It shows the CPU fully covered, like head to toe, like top to bottom, you know what I mean? All the way covered. So this card looks like it's bending a little funny. Honestly, this method might be a little easier to do if the motherboard wasn't already installed. If you lay it flat, that's like one of the best ways I've found so far right now. Like I said, this is my first time doing it this method. I usually don't do this like this, but like I said, they told me to do it. So that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to fill these in because I don't feel like sitting here trying to spread it around. And I'll just scrape any extra off. I'm being really finicky with this because like I want it to be perfect for some reason. Bear with me guys, this is my first time applying it with a friggin' card. I don't know. Like I said, I usually do the dot. Honestly, I don't see any problem with the dot. You could probably definitely do the dot. They included a card and I'm going to use it. I'm going to figure out how the hell they do this so well. I mean, besides the fact that they don't have to dig in their case because their motherboard's out, I'm really not going to sit here and pull my entire motherboard out for this. It's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. As you can see, I have all my stuff in it. So honestly, the main thing I don't want is any air pockets. So I don't want any like deep parts of it that aren't filled in properly. That's mostly what I'm looking for right here when I'm doing this. Also trying to be very careful since I am applying pressure with the card. I don't want to slip and smear this all over my motherboard either. So, but you know what? I think that's going to do. That looks good enough. We'll find out when I put it on. If I put it on and I have any issues with temperatures, then obviously I didn't apply it right. So I mean, it would just come back to pulling it off, putting it back on. Okay, so as you guys can see, my CPU cooler standoff kind of fell down there. So what I like to do is, you can stand the case up and push against it, but that's really hard. So what I'll do is I'll be taking this cloth and I'll be putting it underneath my case. So, oh, there goes the cooler jumping around. So, is there a wire behind here? Okay, sorry. There's a wire in the way. One of my connectors is kind of in the way. So let me make sure I get around that. Okay, so when I do this, I want to make sure that what I put underneath it isn't pushing up on the motherboard to make it bow out, but I want it to push up enough to where the pins will stick out for me. So that's basically what I look for when I'm doing that. That's why I use a folded towel, because if I push on it, the towel will just compress instead of sitting there and, you know what I mean, getting, ooh, don't touch it, ooh. Usually don't have to worry about this because I usually just do a dot in the middle, so this is kind of new. So, as I was saying, let's see how that can squeeze out the side. So, like I said, I don't want to bow my motherboard out by putting something solid like a book behind it, but putting a cloth behind it, I can push down on it and it's not bowing the motherboard. That's why I do it that way. So, now we're just going to get into the installing. So, of course, when you guys put your CPU cooler on, you want to line it up pretty good, and you want to apply a nice even pressure and kind of just like, I don't know, do a little wiggle around to spread it a little bit, nothing too crazy though. Then we're going to line our screws up right here, and to make sure you don't apply uneven pressure, just screw 2 or 3 threads into the cooler, or into the, that way. I don't know what just happened with my camera. Alright, camera malfunction. Well, basically you want to screw them off, you know, corner to corner, and only put a few threads through it first. That way you don't unevenly apply pressure to one side directly. And then, as well as doing this crisscross pattern, also allows for even displacement of the thermal paste underneath it, which, I mean, when you're working on cars and motorcycles and engines mostly, is where you want to pay attention to this cross pattern, because this is definitely one of those things that you have to do on almost anything, whether it be heads, valve covers. Well, I don't really care about valve covers. I just screw them down, honestly. But usually, of course, with like a head, when I'm putting a new head gasket on, or if I'm doing cam caps or something like that for anything with overhead cams, definitely want to do this pattern just little by little. I mean, honestly, for this you don't have to be as tedious. I'm just making it, you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't want any mess ups here. But as long as you're not just tightening all the bolts on one side at the same time, it doesn't really matter what order you go into once you start getting them tightened down. So basically I just want to make sure they're all snug fit, and snug, and snug. Okay, so, oh, we have this. Alright, so how I got this to work out, you guys, it's like I zip tied it to keep it more sturdy. But basically how you do this is you take, hold on, well, I can do it with a screwdriver. I'm going to show you just a little bit of it because I've already done it. But you basically take a screwdriver. It's best to use a pencil because it doesn't have the big handle in the way. And you literally just wrap it around and keep wrapping it like that. And then you plug it in and then pull it out. And see how it holds the shape? And that is how you get the little wrap cord around like that. I actually saw somebody doing it in a video, and I've only seen it been done once in one video. I can't remember who did it, but whoever that guy was is a friggin' genius. So that's how I get that little pigtail coil right there. So that's on there nice and tight. Like I said, because I used a towel, I didn't bend my motherboard in any weird ways, and I was able to do this with one person. I didn't need a second person here to help me hold the back plate. I didn't have to pull my motherboard out. It's just an easy way to do it, at least in my opinion. Of course, other people, different coolers obviously will have different things. Just these AMD coolers work like that. So yeah, that is my paste, and I probably should have put these back in, but you know, screw it. Who needs RAM? You don't need RAM. What are you gonna do with that? You don't need it. But yeah, I was just walking you guys through a little quick tutorial on thermal paste if you guys are ever changing it. I will let you guys know if my temperatures have changed at all, either in one of my next videos or something, or maybe I'll put it in the end of this video. I'll do a quick burn-in test and see what we get on them. But like I said, a lot of people, they don't. I feel like they don't. Okay, see, I don't like how the standoffs on the end aren't on the end. So they don't have standoffs on the ATX end of it. So like, you want to make sure you hold your motherboard when you're pushing your RAM in, so you don't bend your motherboard. I feel like when people do overclocking and tell you get a decent cooler, while that is the most important thing, another thing a lot of people fail to mention is getting good thermal paste. A good cooler will work, yes, but thermal paste will let you to get the maximum amount of performance out of that cooler. So definitely don't skimp on your thermal paste either. I mean, if you're going to buy a $60, $70, $100, $200 cooler loop or whatever, invest, even if you're buying the $35 cooler. Actually, I would say especially if you're buying those $35 Cooler Master Evo 212 Evo, definitely invest an extra $10, $12 on something like this. It doesn't have to be this exact brand. It doesn't have to be a Tuniq TX-4. They have other brands that are run for about $6 to $8. Just do your research, find out which ones you guys like better. But anyways, you guys, that's basically it for thermal paste. Pretty damn simple, you guys. Anyways, this is Steven with All Talk On, and I'll catch you guys later.